Hi, this is a video to cover two things. One, what we're doing with students to help them plan revision time, and two, what support there is for revision for them for the rest of the year. So to begin with, I'm going to talk about planning revision time and the work we've been doing with students in their tutor periods over the last week and in the course of the next week. So it's based around this booklet, which is available on the school website to download if you want to see it. The booklet begins with just tips for revision and how to make revision effective. It then goes on to give some techniques, some that most that students are already familiar with, just reminders about how to make them most efficient. A really important bit about not just reading notes, but actually doing something active whilst you read notes, and making sure that you take breaks so that you're not just like trying to revise constantly for say 2 or 3 hours. There is a section on mind maps which is quite detailed. Students tend to find these quite tricky. They're very effective, but lots of students find them a little bit overwhelming at this stage, but the information is there should they want to use them. And then we come to how we're helping them plan their time, which they've been doing in tutor periods following some guidance videos, and I'll talk you through this quite quickly. You will find all of the information available on the school website. So if you were to go to the school website and click on the parent area button, which is up there at the top in blue, you'll find that there's a link to the Year 11 GCSE support page. And when you click on that link, it takes you down to another page with a lot of information on it. Here's some of that information. At the top, you'll find resources that we have given to students and that they're using in their tutor time to help them prepare information, to prepare their revision timetable. And below that, there's the videos that they have been following in tutor time, should they need to perhaps finish them off at home, or if you wanted to see what they've been doing. But I'll talk you through the process we've followed now. By the time I send this email out to you, or an email out to you with this video link on, there may be more resources there as well. So the first step that the students have followed is to identify the exams that they have during the exam season, because obviously they don't do every subject. So for example, in blue there are all the subjects that are common to all students. Here's exams for a student who does geography, there for some that do Spanish, also there for students who do sociology and business studies. So that's a sort of fairly typical spread of exams, and each student has got their own wall chart which they're going to bring home, which has got their exams highlighted on it. The next stage has been to get them to add those exams to a revision timetable. We've given them sheets that start from Easter, and they've got spaces for every day. So we've got 2 weeks at Easter, 2 weeks of normal school. The exams start running in the third week back. They run for those 3 weeks, and then we have half term, and then we have 3 weeks after half term where there are exams, and we've got them to transfer their exams onto this exam timetable so they can see what days they have exams. We've also then got them to consider how long they've got to revise, how many hours they have. Suggested that for every school day they might aim to do 2 hours of revision at home after school is finished. For every non-school day, 4 hours. They could do more, they could do less, but that's the suggestion we've said would be quite a reasonable aim to have. And once they've done that, they've worked out how many hours they have got in total to revise. Part of the process involved identifying days in the revision period where they wouldn't be able to do any work. Perhaps you're going away as a family, perhaps they've got a job, a sports event, any of those sorts of things. So they're realistic about the number of hours they have available to them. What we then are asking them to do is identify what subjects they are going to revise on what days. And so they've now got the sort of main structure of a revision timetable. The final step in the process, which can be a bit overwhelming, some students might choose not to do this, it's a good idea if they can, is for each subject where they identify they're studying that subject to add in which topic that they are going to study for that subject. And if they do all of that, they've got a pretty detailed revision timetable mapped out for all of the time from the start of Easter up to the end of the exam period. We haven't included in that the days during the weeks where they have exams, because quite often students tend to focus purely on the next exam in that stage. So this is sort of a slightly longer term plan. And the other thing I'm stressing with them is that almost certainly they won't manage to do everything that they plan to do. And that is fine. That is okay. They can juggle things around. They can rearrange things. They just have to accept this is a plan. It's there to get them organised, to help reduce a bit of stress. But when they don't quite manage to do what they plan to do, just to roll with that and either adapt their revision timetable or squeeze a bit in extra elsewhere. Okay, so if I now come to what support there is with revision, and obviously the best support they can have is a teacher helping them to revise. So as a result of that, we will be continuing a full timetable right the way through the exam period. The first exam starts on May the 8th, which is a Thursday, so they've got 2.5 weeks between then and half term, and students will go to all of their lessons timetabled when they don't have an exam. The exception is we will put on some extra sessions. So what we're always aiming to do is give the students an hour immediately prior to the exam for every subject with a specialist teacher leading them through some sort of last minute revision. So if it's an afternoon exam, we'll try and timetable a morning session where they're all together. And if it's a morning session, then that will either be the previous afternoon if there are no exams on there, or perhaps after school. But other than exams and those extra sessions, students will go to all their lessons right up till half term. After half term, it becomes a little bit more flexible for the 2.5 weeks there. For example, if you were to take geography, the last exam in geography is Thursday the 12th of June. And so we will continue lessons in geography right the way up until then. And students we'll be expecting students do come in. Now, after that time, there's obviously little point in them going to a geography lesson. They can still come to the timetable geography room and revise, but there obviously won't be any geography being delivered. And as a result, you start to get days where perhaps there are no lessons that are relevant to a student and no exams on that day. And in those situations, we would understand if a student chose not to come into school, particularly if they've got a long commute into school. But we will still be having teachers available in classrooms following the normal timetable right the way through the exam period. And the last exam is scheduled for Wednesday the 18th of June, but you do need to be aware that there's a national contingency day on the 25th of June. Should there be a reason for nationally an exam not to take place, some sort of emergency, then an exam could be moved to that day. It's not happened during my career, but it could do, so you just need to be aware that there could be an exam on the 25th of June. Okay, so all of that gets pretty complicated. What we are producing and what will be given to students shortly after Easter when it's complete is a sort of day-by-day breakdown. What is going on every period, every day, right the way through the exam season. That will be given to students printed out for them to bring home so that you can see it at home as well. And one thing that's really useful is if the exam wall chart that I referred to earlier, where they've identified their exams, and this schedule, if it can be displayed in some sort of communal family area, perhaps on a fridge door in the kitchen or something like that, it's just an easy way for the whole family to know what's going on each day. You don't have to keep invading the students' privacy, if you like, and asking them what's happening tomorrow. You're aware. And it's an easy way for you to be supportive, and it makes the students feel supported. So there'll be a hard copy of that coming home after Easter, but it will also go up on the revision support page on the website. So they've got their face-to-face revision, but clearly they've got time on their own. One of the key things for them to use is the super curriculum resources via SharePoint, which I've spoken to you about many times. So just a reminder that on the school webpage, there is a SharePoint button. And if they click on there, they log in with their normal school details, and that takes them on to a whole suite of resources that teachers have produced to support revision in their subject. we've said to students, use those. We've said to students, try and break up your revision into 20 to 30-minute periods, maybe working 25 minutes, having a 5-minute break. And if they do that and they use the SharePoint resources, then they're sort of well equipped to revise at home. And I suppose if you're able to, you knowing where the SharePoint resources are and you having that knowledge means that perhaps if they're saying they don't know what to revise, you might be able to direct them. Have you tried this? Okay, last thing I want to talk about, might sound silly, but breathing. I've spoken to students in assembly about this, but we're trying to get them to learn a revision technique, not revision technique, sorry, relaxation technique that they can use throughout the exam period at any time where they're feeling a bit stressed, be it at home revising, be it just before an exam or even within an exam. We're talking to them about perhaps practicing some breathing exercises at home, and this is something that you as a parent could support them do and encourage them to do, because they often find it they find it a bit funny sort of practicing this thing at home at their age on their own, I think. There's a couple of videos on the website, one called Take 5 breathing, one called ratio breathing. And what we're talking about is getting them from what we're calling their red head, where they're feeling stressed and they're not able to think clearly, into their blue head, where all their rational thought is able to happen. So I have said to the students, if they could practice those breathing techniques at home when they're calm and relaxed, then they're more likely to be effective when they're in a stressful situation and they need them to help them relax. Okay, so all of that we hope is going to make a pretty strong package to support the students and allow you to support the students through the entire exam period. They've got their revision wall chart, their exam wall chart to say when the exams are, their revision timetable to guide them through that period and organise their time, using the resources from SharePoint, which involve lots of super curriculum resources, and also that thing which perhaps you can help them at home, just helping them to learn how to relax and how to reset their brain if they're feeling under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure at any point in the period. So I hope that's been useful to you. If you have any other questions, please do get in touch with school, and please make use of the rest of the resources on this webpage.